It's hot and humid as I rest my bike up against the side of the house. It's 1993 and I just got done riding my bike around the college campus that's across the street from my grandparents' place. As I walk inside, my grandma gives me a big glass of Kool-Aid to drink while I sit down at the kitchen table and talk to them. Now, as I drink this Kool-Aid, which arguably needs more sugar because it always needed more sugar when you're a kid, I look up at the door. There's a door that leads down to the basement. And on this door hangs a sign that looks like a heart. I've seen this sign hundreds of times in my life, but I've never really paid any attention to it. Curious, I read it. And I'm struck by how simple and how profound it is. And what it says is, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to tell the difference. I now know this as the Serenity Prayer, and it's quite profound, so it's worth exploring. Find out more right after this. Hey, it's Derek Hagan. I'm a financial therapist here to talk to you about what you can control in this Money Health presentation. So let's talk about what you can control. So the first thing to understand is that there are things in your control and there are things outside your control. It gets back to that Serenity Prayer, which has its roots way back in Stoicism. Stoic philosopher Epictetus is famous for saying some things are up to us and some things are not up to us. And what that means, they call this a dichotomy of control in Stoicism. That just means that there's some things that you can control and some things you can't. That's simple. But the hard part is understanding the difference. Grant me the wisdom to know the difference. Right? So focus over on those things that you can control. That's the trick. Because so much of the world, of life, so much of everything that happens to us is outside of our control. So what is outside of your control? The easy answer in personal finance or in investing is the stock market returns. You can't control what the stock market does. You can't control what it does this hour or today, even this month. So in the short run, we have no control. But we also really have no control over the long run. Now, we have more confidence as that time period expands, but we still don't know. Will the stock market return 15% over the next 10 years? 15% a year? Will it return 8% per year on average? Or will it be like the last decade where U.S. stocks are flat? We simply don't know. Stock market returns are outside of our control. Also outside of our control is our past. Whatever has happened to you from right now and before, you can't change that. You have no control over that. And you can't control what setbacks and problems happen to you. In fact, once the problem lands in your lap, now it's in the past. You now have a problem to solve. And you can't control outcomes. This is why I'm so opposed to goal setting, because goals rely on outcomes. Outcomes are outside of our control. So you might be asking yourself, well, I need to know what the stock market returns are doing. That's incredibly important. Or I have the setback. It's important for me to know that the setback is here and that I need to solve some problem. Or I need to have a direction. I need to have some kind of goal to aim at, right? Yes, all those things are true, but let's not mistake importance and control. So let's peel back the onion and find out, what do you actually have control over? So things that are in your control are the choices that you make. The choices that you make right now, given everything that you've learned in the past. How much preparation you put in, how prepared you are for whatever journey you're going down. What's your attitude and your mindset? Those things are well inside your control. So let's think about that stock market return. I can't control the stock market, but what can I control? I can control how much money I put into the stock market. I can control how much financial news that I watch. I can control whether or not I understand the business of financial news. And their job is to scare you and generate more revenue by clicks and advertisements. I can understand how much money I need from my portfolio so I don't have any of that money in the stock market that I need in the next 5 years. I can control my attitude about how much I care about whether or not the stock markets drop. Right? If I have made a mistake and I put too much money in the stock market and it tanks right as I need to sell, well, that can inform me for how to better behave in the future. But once that's happened, you can't control it. Well, let's think about setting goals. Right? So I have a goal of, say, winning a squash match. That would be a great goal, right? Why would I play if I didn't want to win? But so much of that win is an outcome that's outside of my control. I have no control over the fitness level or the experience level of my opponent. I have no control over my opponent's shot selection. What I do control is my level of preparation, how well rested I am. I have control over my shot selection. Okay, so if I only focus on what I can control, oftentimes I will get that outcome that I want. I will get that win, but that's a byproduct. That's not what I'm after. I'm there to play the best match that I can. Said another way, I should not be upset if I get a loss, as long as all the stuff that was in my control was taken care of properly. Or think about interviewing for a job. You don't control the mood of the person who's interviewing you. You don't control who else is in the candidate pool. Okay, there's a lot of things that are outside your control, but what is in your control is how much rest you get the night before, how prepared you are for the interview, how much you know about the company. Those things are in your control. So that's where we really want to focus. So time spent worrying, we're going to track how much time you spent worrying here and see if that helps you have more control over a situation. Well, it doesn't. Worry doesn't give you more control. The more you worry about getting that specific outcome, the more you worry about what happens with the stock market, the more you worry. I mean, that's it. That's the only connection. The more you worry, the more worry you have. The more worry doesn't solve the problem. More worry doesn't change the stock market returns or get you that job or get you that W. So if you don't have any control, time spent worrying isn't helpful. If you do have control, time spent worrying isn't helpful. And so get clear about what you have control over and put your time towards that. Because what is worth your time? Things that are in your control are worth your time. Things that are worth out of your control are a waste of time. They actually detract from you making a good solution here. So stop wasting your time on things that are outside of your control. So, I've talked about this before, but goals are outside of your control and should be avoided. A goal depends on a specific outcome. So losing 10 pounds is a goal. But a lot of that is outside of your control, right? How many people had a goal of losing weight at the beginning of 2020? And how many people lost weight by the end of 2020? They failed to meet their goals. Now, would we call them failures and losers because they didn't meet their goal? A global pandemic came out of nowhere. They had no control over that. But because they had a goal, it's easy to think, well, I'm a failure. I didn't meet my goal. Right? So running a marathon in under 4 hours, that's a goal. But what happens because I'm running 6 days a week for 3 months? What happens if I injure myself 2 weeks before the event? I failed to meet my goal. What happens if bad weather cancels the event? I failed to meet my goal. What happens if I finish in 4 hours and 15 minutes? That's still admirable, but I failed to meet my goal. And so why are you setting yourself up for failure? Instead, let's use systems. You can still have direction in life if you use systems. Now, a system, instead of a goal of losing 10 pounds, a system is learning to eat right every day. Right? Instead of a goal of running a marathon in under 4 hours, a system is to become a runner. A goal of gunning for your boss's job doesn't make as much sense as a system of constantly adding to your talent stack and making yourself more marketable. Focus on things that are inside your control. Ignore things that are outside your control. And that's good money health.